Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. The regime's getting nervous. That's the focus of tonight's angle. The weaponization of the legal system against Donald Trump has backfired royally on the Democrats as more Americans see the cases against him for what they are: political payback. Of course, Trump wasn't shy about calling this out at the debate, which meant Kamala Harris's chief surrogate over at the DOJ felt the need to respond.
Our norms are a promise that we will not allow this department to be used as a political weapon. And our norms are a promise that we will not allow this nation to become a country where law enforcement is treated as an apparatus of politics.
Okay, what norms is he talking about exactly? The norms that allowed for Hunter's sweetheart plea deal to get all the way to a federal judge before being tossed? Or how about the norms that led the FBI to question the authenticity of Hunter Biden's laptop in the fall of the last election cycle? Or the norms that Fani Willis's lover and chief investigator led to his visiting the White House on a number of occasions? And what norm is just Chanya Tutkin following when she holds motions hearings on a case involving the Republican Party's presidential nominee just weeks before Election Day? And just as any senior Harris campaign official would do, Garland dismisses legitimate concerns about the politicization of our legal system and then claims the system itself is the victim.
We took steps to better protect the department's criminal and civil law enforcement decisions and its legal judgments from partisan or other inappropriate influences.
The inappropriate influences that he seems to be referencing there, of course, are the words of Donald Trump. I mean, you can't make this up. But making this appearance today, just a few days after the debate, is just another in a long line of missteps by this Attorney General. Because if he's worried about the declining reputation of the DOJ, he only made things worse and merely confirmed everything that Donald Trump has been warning about. Now, remember back to 2015 when Donald Trump came down that escalator, when he announced his first run for the presidency. He based his campaign then, and I think it's still based on two ideas. First, that the people in charge in D.C. had failed to defend and advance the interests of the United States. And number two, that he believed the reason they failed was because they put their own interests ahead of the interests of the American people. And of course, number three, that he was the right person to turn it all around. In the 9 years since then, the D.C. establishment, now backing the Harris campaign, of course, has repeatedly proven Trump correct. They failed to build a strong economy. They have failed to stand up to China. They have failed to defend our borders. They failed to protect the credibility of our legal system. And they failed to win their wars of choice. And the reason for all this failure is not just incompetence, but there's plenty of that. It's also malevolence. And despite her well-rehearsed lines and practiced facial expressions, and there were a lot of those, Kamala Harris did not seem to move a lot of the working class people who don't seem very impressed by Taylor Swift or vibes. What they want are results.
For this election, would you say your mind is made up?
Yes.
And that is?
Trump.
Okay. Are you a previous Trump supporter?
The first year he won in 2016, I was not.
Did you vote for Hillary?
I did vote for Hillary, and I cried when she did not win.
Okay. Then what happened?
And then I just felt like he did a good job. I liked the fact that he was not a politician.
Good for Major Garrett. And even some Swifties, they don't seem to buy the Kamala Act.
I'm voting Trump because we need to secure our borders, also economically. I mean, the last 4 years have been insanely hard on everybody, and it's not getting cheaper.
And in the end, people who don't have private security or fly around in private jets or, you know, their partners are all decked out in Gucci, you know, people who have to go to the grocery store and figure out how to squeak out mortgage payments on a tight budget. Increasingly, many of those Americans feel like second-class citizens in their own country, and they also can't afford to go to a Taylor Swift concert, by the way. And they're not obsessed with who scored what points at a debate or the latest celebrity to give an endorsement. they see our country teetering. And when they speak their minds about their feelings about the country they love, they often feel disrespected. Case in point.
His supporters are just as despicable, all right? Like, Trump's whole thing, he's a narcissist, right? And it works for him because his supporters are just as ungenerous and have just as little compassion and empathy for others. And that's why it never hurts Trump when he takes these crass and classless actions. It's because his supporters think that being crass and classless is actually kind of cool.
Yeah, that's what they're all about. Now, I love how that person's job title is Justice Correspondent. Okay. Look, the deplorables that Hillary branded so ineloquently, they haven't gone away. In fact, in a lousy Biden-Harris economy, their numbers are growing. And the only people on the national scene speaking up for them, Donald Trump and his team. So tonight, I say to the Attorney General, if you really want to send a message about being fair to everyone, regardless of political views, maybe try to rehabilitate the image of the Justice Department, stop all the prosecutions of former President Trump, call off the dogs. Just last month, Jack Smith got a grand jury to issue a superseding indictment against Donald Trump, even after the Supreme Court issued its immunity ruling, trying to refashion it to kind of jibe with what the court said. But the goal here is to hold a Damocles sword over Trump in the final weeks of the campaign. Now, perhaps the Attorney General thinks the voters are stupid, but they're not. More and more, they see these cases against Trump for what they are, purely political. And you bet those same people are voting. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.